This week on MS Refresh, updated integrations within Microsoft Lists, added Teams meetings functionality, and SharePoint can almost buy a six-pack in the US. All that and more, subscribe to stay in the know. This is the MS Refresh Show. Hi there, and welcome to the Matt and Sean 365 Refresh Show. This is episode 17 for the work week of March 29th, 2021. Coming to you from the East Coast of the U.S., my name is Matt Wade.
And coming to you live from the West Coast on the ones and twos, this is Sean Bugler.
What's going on, Sean? How you doing?
I'm good. Yeah, we talked a little bit about, school last week. I'm feeling better. There were a lot of really great comments. Did you get a chance to read some of the
feeling
comments?
better. You should be feeling better. Why? Why should you be feeling better?
I got a 97 on my first accounting exam.
I don't think I broke a 90 in college. I'm just going to throw that out there. And you're working at the same time. So yes, I did see a lot of the comments, and I'm glad that there are other like-minded and progressive people out there.
Yeah, no, it was really nice to see. And obviously we don't talk about these things so that I can get my pats on the back, although I'll always take them. But it was really nice to kind of see how many people are interested in like pushing that conversation forward, that you don't necessarily need to follow the traditional educational path.
Definitely.
How's your world? How's the other side of the country?
Oh, it's cold and dreary. We definitely got our fake taste of spring, and we're back into a bit of a winter thing. But actually, I was kind of excited. I'm going to geek out a little bit. I don't know if you've ever heard of Cal Newport, but he's an author, a professor from Georgetown who wrote that book, Deep Work, a couple years ago. Well, I finally got my copy of World Without Email. And
I just bought that on Kindle. Have you started reading it?
Yeah, I'm through part one now of him covering all the problems and where email came from and why it's one of those things where we just kind of de facto ran with it and unintended consequences. I'm loving it because it's just like, Slack, email, Teams, chat, just all that kind of stuff, and how bad it is in certain ways. So I'm definitely going to pull that stuff and bring it into work. It's going to be a lot of fun. So
yeah, no, I thought I was listening to it on NPR. I think it is because that's my morning routine. I wake up, I hit a button, and NPR comes on, and that's my whole weekend. It's just listening to that in the background. But he was on there, and it was super insightful. I'll be interested to hear what you take away from it.
It's a tad unrealistic. I mean, like, he works in academia, so like there's only so much you can get out of academia, and like doing all these tests and like research in like he keeps citing a bunch of these different we sent these people out with these things around their neck to record all the conversations that were being had, and like they would do these distance checks to like see who's talking to who and that kind of thing. And it's like completely unrealistic. That's like when you do the test screws with real life kind of thing. Like you can't do non-destructive testing in that kind of situation. So like it doesn't really apply to like actual like knowledge work in the real world, I don't think, but like it definitely gives me an idea of where it's going to go. But so far very cool, and I'm kind of curious to see what he puts out in part 2, which is like his proposal on what to do with all this trouble and problem and over communicating. The hyperactive hive mind is what he calls it. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I'll be interested to hear what you take away from that, because obviously you famously do the etiquette in Teams. You'll be interested to see if you can start to
stop
pull
talking.
some of that.
That's his takeaway at this point, I think. But yeah, so I think that's about it. What's new on your side? Anything good?
No, I think I've tied in with school. One of the things that I'm reading right now, books I'm reading, is Never Eat Alone by Keith Ferrazzi. Which is because the program I'm in is technological entrepreneurship and management, so it's kind of this cross section between the business side of thinking smarter and also kind of the technology piece of it as well, which is interesting. But it definitely lends itself towards a lot of like growth hack type things, where it's like, here's how what's the Carnegie book, how to make friends, how to influence friends, and blah blah blah, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But no, that one's actually been really interesting. It's just kind of talking about this idea of how you position yourself to be of the most use to the largest amount of people, and like that's the heart and soul of being successful, is just being useful to other people, not focusing on your own self-furtherance. So that's been interesting, and I do think about that as I consider the value one that we bring to the table, and also how the tools that we offer to our users within my organization fit into that schema as well. How do you make that useful, because that's just going to keep pushing everything further along.
All right, well, we've set the bar high for ourselves in the future that we have to come back with, like full on, sessions on how to do these things and apply these things to real world work, I guess. So, no pressure. So I guess with that,
book report.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, putting together a session to get present is basically the same thing as a book report. I feel like it takes as much or more time, frankly. But I think that's probably a good point to bring it over to the news, because you've done a lot of effort this week to bring not a whole lot together, so you had to go digging. So let's just kick it right off.
This is the news.
Microsoft lists and SharePoint libraries are nothing if not mighty, but the default grid view look and feel isn't always appropriate for the presented data. That's why view formatting has become an increasingly popular way to restructure lists and libraries in new and increasingly creative ways, and even create interactive elements to improve the overall experience. Recently, a handful of new view formatting options became available online, including the ability to customize grouped headers and footers. The capability is still buried behind the need to work with JSON code, something almost no one wants to hear. And while Microsoft provides some limited information and even sample code to help get the ball rolling, most will prefer to wait until the update makes it into proper user interface before they start putting these new updates to the test. Newly added to the Microsoft 365 roadmap, a new role is being incorporated into Microsoft Teams in the coming months. This doesn't happen all too often. Today, as a meeting organizer, you can alternate between designating users as either presenters or attendees. Useful in the production of a meeting, but what about managing a meeting's more nuanced aspects? Coming in June, finally, organizers will be able to incorporate co-organizers into team meetings. This will help ensure organizers can draft the backup they need when managing the meeting at nearly every level, from the meeting settings to managing breakout rooms. GCC High and DoD can expect to see this feature arrive in September, and base-level GCC tenants, while oddly not explicitly listed in the announcement, can likely expect to see the feature arrive in the July-August timeframe, if past experience is any indicator. Identifying which folders within a SharePoint document library are associated with a Teams channel is about to get a lot easier. Next month, Microsoft is rolling out new visual indicators to separate which ones have that special connection. Unless, of course, you're staunchly pro-metadata, in which case the fact that there are folders at all should be enough of a hint, no? Any day now, Microsoft is planning to begin the rollout of call merge functionality within Teams for one-to-one calls. To borrow their language, the feature is described by Microsoft as, quote, giving end users the capability to merge their active, unheld one-to-one calls into another one-to-one call or into another group call. Perfect for those slumber party prank calls where you get your friend on the line, and then you call another friend, and you try to get them to say mean things about the other friend, right? Good times. Staying with Teams for a minute longer, out-of-office support, which was announced at Ignite last year, is creeping ever closer to release. Now slated for April of this year, the feature allows users to set their out-of-office status right from within Teams. The status change in Teams will also allow you to mark it on your calendar and set your automatic reply in Outlook. Lastly, and this is my favorite detail here, your out-of-office status message will be prominently displayed for anyone trying to message you. The only thing that could be better would be outright blocking people from tagging or DMing you to begin with. There's a lot of work happening to capitalize on the increasing kinds of data stored in Microsoft lists. We even talked about a new Power BI integration on the way just last episode. But all those integrations need somewhere to live, and that toolbar is already jam-packed with buttons. Enter the Integrate dropdown, a reimagined destination for, well, integrations that can do something more with that list data. We've talked about this feature in passing before, however, the roadmap indicates it's set to start rolling out this month, hopefully. The Integrate dropdown is expected to serve as home for all the Power Platform hooks, including the current Power Automate and Power Apps dropdown menus. Pretty soon, the only Power Platform service that won't have a toolbar-level integration with lists will be Power Virtual Agents, and the way things are going, even that may just be a matter of time. Now, to close things out, here's one that slipped right by me when it was initially announced. According to the roadmap, Microsoft is working on an overhaul to how whiteboards created in their namesake service are stored. Currently, depending on where they're made, whiteboards either end up getting stored in OneDrive for Business or, more commonly, in a mystery Azure-based repository. Well, starting in September, it looks as though, like Stream, Whiteboard will begin looking towards SharePoint to power its storage. Yet another feature in the cap of Team SharePoint Everywhere. The change is likely to open up the service to improve functionality like version control and even surface the whiteboards in search results. This change may even, maybe, pave the way for the service's return to government tenants after unofficial access was unceremoniously yanked early last year. Hopefully, that ends up being the case. I think the government wants their whiteboards. Let's get on it, Microsoft.
That was the news.
Man, even on a drought week, there's still a good amount of stuff to cover. So, Sean, what's one thing that stood out to you this week?
I mean, one thing that I'll kind of hit at the top is as we're recording this, we're like 2 or 3 days from the end of March, and there are at least two marquee items that we highlight in the news. The integrate menu and the other one's eluding me already. That are supposed to arrive in March of 2021. So
Yeah.
We're cutting it close, Microsoft.
Right, yeah. Shocker.
But one of them that I'm really excited about actually seeing in the wild is the integrate dropdown in the toolbar of lists and libraries. Right now, you see it in the toolbar for lists and libraries. You've got the Power Apps dropdown. You've got the Automate dropdown, which hooks into Power Automate. We just reported last week that Power BI is getting its own lists integration that's going to get its own hook within the toolbar. So it's clear, and I mean, we've known this from the get-go, that toolbar is getting just jam-packed with stuff. So I'm really excited to see them roll all of that together into a single integrate dropdown. When we reported it originally, there was kind of some unsureness about why they would create a dropdown for just two items, the Power Apps and Power Automate. And so we knew there had to be more to it. Power BI, I guess, kind of answers that question, but I said it back then and I'll say it now. I'd be really interested to see if that opens up the door to creating a home for third-party integrations.
Yeah.
I think that there's some really great opportunity there, whether it's Adobe or Salesforce or whatever,
Yeah, I think that would be a major benefit. I also find it kind of annoying that I think it's clearly an aim to entice people to use the Power Platform, and I don't know if that's necessarily the right thing to always do. So kind of putting them behind a menu, making people click something to get there isn't a bad thing, I don't think. In organizations I've worked for where just not ready to roll out the Power Platform yet, like that's one of those teasing things where it's like, yeah, I'm not ready to give this to you yet. I'm sorry that button is in front of you, but like, because you don't need those buttons to use the files that are in that in that library or the items in that list. You can get them from Power Automate or Power Apps. They don't need to be there. So hopefully that menu gets some actual not actually useful integrations, because they are useful, but like ones that you wouldn't get from other places. Like a value add is added, not just another entry point to something you already have access to, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree with you more. I do think that there's an opportunity to gin up real day one value. And obviously I think that there are some things that you can take advantage of that are unique to that entry point, whether it's just kind of being able to capitalize on selected items or whatever. One last thing that I'll flag is that, we've got Power Apps that's available as an integration. We've got Power Automate that's been available as an integration.
Yeah.
Power BI, which we just announced, is coming. That's 3 out of the 4 in the Power Platform. Microsoft, where's Power Virtual Agents? Well, you're not gonna figure out how you can jam that one in there?
I'm sure they'll figure it out. They'll slip it in somehow. If they can make the money, they'll do it.
Bot. Where is that report?
Yes, right, exactly. And it'll be the bot that just does one question. That's it. And then you got to make the other bot do the other question, and it'll be, it'll just continue on in that respect. But we'll get it. We'll get it eventually.
And this is how the movie Terminator starts.
I think Azure is already on that. Is already on that move. I think we're getting there anyway. But
it starts with making whiskey. It ends with finishing the world off.
I mean, that sounds not a terrible thing.
What was something that caught your attention?
Well, for one, SharePoint turned 20 years old on the 27th, which I just love the coincidence that SharePoint's birthday is the day after my birthday, and I don't say that just to fish for happy birthdays because I don't really care about my birthday.
Presents can be sent to P.O. Box 132, Albany, New York.
I do love the fact, though, that I will rag on SharePoint all day long, yet we almost share the same birthday. It's amazing. And then I just got the SharePoint app bar in my tenant, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, it showed up while we were doing our prep. Like, what?
Yeah, I hadn't looked, and it was like, oh, look, there it is. I see it now. It's great. No, but the thing that really kind of stood out to me is the Teams meetings co-organizer. So I'm curious to see what happens with this because there's a lot of potential implications here, and it's not just about some features in Teams meeting. So right now there's 3 roles in a Teams meeting. There is the attendee who has few powers. There's the presenter who has all the powers except for that of the organizer. So the organizer is only one person and there's only one organizer per meeting. But meetings don't just exist in Teams. They also are something that come from Outlook. And there are meeting options that only the organizer has access to right now. So one of the big features that will come with having another organizer is being able to change the settings of the meeting. So whether or not it has a lobby, which that's the kind of thing that really, if you're having a big meeting, toggling the lobby on and off can be a really good thing. But if you're the meeting facilitator, you may not want to be the one doing that. But if you're the organizer of the meeting and you're facilitating the meeting, you're stuck doing that right now. The other thing is breakout rooms. Only the organizer can create and open breakout rooms. That was by design originally, and first immediately the education space complained about that because, hey, I'm only one teacher. Maybe I have a TA. I need some other people to be able to, manage these breakout rooms, or maybe I want to create a meeting with breakout rooms for somebody else, a substitute teacher, for example, to take over when I'm not in the classroom that day. So a lot of, real implications there. But the other one that I was thinking of is for 20 plus years now, when somebody leaves the organization and they own a meeting, especially the staff meeting, and it's every week indefinitely, they have to cancel that meeting and then somebody else has to recreate the meeting. And it's only because there's no way to transfer ownership of meetings in Outlook. And I'm wondering, I've done a little bit of looking into this. I will admit I didn't spend an hour researching, but from what I saw in User Voice and a couple other places it's posted, I could walk away assuming that this is going to be a co-organizer for the meeting itself, whether it's in Teams, Outlook, or whatever else. If you own that, if you're the organizer or the co-organizer, you both own the meeting. And that would be a really big improvement in features across both Outlook and Teams because I remember when I first learned, as a young engineer that, so-and-so's leaving the company and now we have to recreate this meeting. I'm thinking to myself, what an inefficient, unnecessary, hurdle that is. So I have no idea if that's going to be there, but I'm really hoping it is because it's not just about breakout rooms. It's not just about meeting, options. I think there's some other implications here, which is going to be pretty slick.
Yeah, I'm super excited about that. I think that's, even in my organization, I see that as just a constant issue. And even not necessarily people leaving the organization full stop, but somebody going on maternity leave, taking vacation.
Yeah, true.
Things that we ought to be normalizing as part of everyday business. And I think having co-organizers is a fundamental part of that. So I'm glad to see that step being made.
So I think this is a really cool feature to be coming out to us soon, and I think it's in the right direction, and kudos to the Teams team. And even if we don't get full ownership, transfer concept with it, it's still going to be an improvement. But anybody listening that might be on the Teams team, consider that, go talk to your friends over at the Outlook side and Exchange and say, hey, give us a little bit more feature if you potentially can. I think that wouldn't hurt. All right, and that brings us to the upcoming community events. Coming soon to the events world, the Microsoft Business Apps launch event on April 6th, AvePoint's Shift Happens conference on April 20th, which was just recently added to the list, Collab Days Nordics on May 10th, M365 Philly May 14th, and the Teams Nation Conference May 26th. As always, view the complete list of events at the link below or in the video description. And our community member of the week is a Microsoft Teams guru and someone I reach out to on a regular basis when I have that deep, specific question about Teams or a supporting technology. Chris Hoard is a Microsoft Teams MVP, consultant, and trainer out of the UK, and one of the showrunners of the Teams Nation Conference. He's probably one of the best people to follow in the Teams space for getting updates. He regularly posts Message Center news and, critically, what they mean in layman's terms. and his depth of knowledge is just insane. I'm not sure how he's able to keep all of that, all of what he knows in his head, but a shout out to him for all the work he does in the community and for all the help he provides, especially to me.
I've always thought about Chris as occupying a similar space to the one that you occupy, which is trying to cut through the fluff. I think that you've definitely got a sandpaper strategy, which is, there's a gruffness that Chris, I think, doesn't embody. Both have value. That's part of your charm. And please, everybody who's made it this far in the video, sound off in the comments about why this grumpy bear is why you keep coming back. But no, it's always really nice to see Chris show up in the timeline on Twitter, because he's constantly flagging those little nuggets and adding a little bit of context that I think, much as you do, kind of breakthrough is like, oh, this is a useful feature. I love this now, as opposed to why.
I think that might have been the nicest compliment anybody's ever given me. Thank you. You're the helpful sandpaper of the technology or the technology community.
Sandpaper is super useful. You got to polish off the surface. And it's
That's true. That's true. But yeah, so Chris, thanks so much, and great to finally meet you a couple of years ago at Ignite. I look forward to seeing you again sometime soon, and definitely look forward to taking part in the Teams Nation conference coming up in the next couple of months. All right, well, I think that just about does it. Thanks so much for watching. As always, a like and subscribe is much appreciated. Leave a comment below to start the discussion. And Sean, thanks for joining me this week, and I can't wait to hang out with you and everyone else watching again next week. Take care.
Thanks, Matt. Oh, that's neat. This is completely unrelated, but somebody on Twitter says you can use minus syntax to exclude results in Google Maps. So how you can type, blah, 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 minus Microsoft, and it'll exclude all results that have the word Microsoft in it. So the example they used was in Google Maps was coffee minus Starbucks.
Ooh. So search is like one of those things that just, it's so useful, but it just pisses me off because so many people will complain about how bad their search results are. The people that I work with all will be like, can't we just get a Google server and just plug it in? And it's like, guys, if you would actually start deleting your stuff and you do know that quotation marks are a thing, that works. And just the hyphen or the dash to get rid of a result that, to clean things up amazes people. It's wow. And it's this also works in Google and Bing if you ever use Bing. Search to me, people will say search is bad, and I hate hearing that because yes, there's some optimization options. Go after your best bets or your promoted results, whatever the hell they're called now, and do that. But people out there need to take some friggin' responsibility for how bad their search results are, because it's completely on you that you let all that crap bloat up your results, that you don't know how to use refiners, and heaven forbid you throw some quotation marks or a not in front of a term to clean out all the extraneous crap. And it's just one of those things where it's pull your own. I hate the term gotta pull yourself up by your bootstraps. That's one where you better pull yourself up by your damn bootstraps.
I find it interesting that the man who says give me a GUI for everything is also the one that's learn Boolean syntax.